Signed your name, now the bill won't stop.
Big promises, but the truth got dropped.
It's the enrollment trap, but we're fighting back.
If they sold you lies,
You can cut those ties. Borrow a defense, take your power back. The enrollment trap.
Welcome back to the Enrollment Trap, where we break down the system that harmed borrowers and give you the tools to name what happened to you with clarity and power. I'm Frank.
And I'm Michelle. Today we're doing something borrowers have been asking for since episode 1. We're going deep into the question, how do you actually prove harm? Not in a legal brief, not in a trauma dump, but in a way that the Department of Education can understand.
This is the episode that sits between the misconduct matcher and the harm explainer. If the matcher helps you identify what your school did and the harm explainer helps you describe the impact, today's episode is the borrower evidence blueprint, the missing middle.
And we're going to walk through it slowly, step by step, in a way that feels safe and doable. Because evidence is not just paperwork. Evidence is your story, your timeline, and your lived experience.
Let's start with the biggest misconception. Borrower defense is not a courtroom. You don't need notarized affidavits, you don't need a binder of documents, and you don't need to prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Borrowers think they need to be detectives. They think they need to find the one perfect email that proves everything. And when they can't find it, they think they don't have a case.
But borrower defense is a preponderance standard. That means it is more likely than not that the school misled you or harmed you.
And that can be shown through patterns, timelines, consistency, and your own testimony. Your lived experience is evidence.
When we say evidence, we're talking about 4 categories, and you only need one of them to be strong. More is helpful, but not required. The first is direct evidence. This is the rare stuff. This is the obvious category: emails, brochures, texts, screenshots, recorded calls. Most borrowers think this is the only kind of evidence that counts.
Here's the truth. Predatory schools rarely leave a paper trail. They lie in person, on the phone, and in high-pressure meetings. So if you don't have direct evidence, that's normal.
Indirect evidence. This is the most common. This is where most borrowers actually win. Indirect evidence includes timelines, patterns, inconsistencies, what you were told verbally, what you were promised, what you reasonably believed based on the school's behavior.
So if 10 borrowers from the same school all describe the same lie, that's evidence. If your timeline shows you were rushed, pressured, or misled, that's evidence. If the school's promise don't match reality, that's evidence.
The next category is systematic evidence. This is the strongest. This is when your school has a history of misconduct. Maybe they were sued. Maybe they were investigated. Maybe they were part of a settlement. Maybe they were in Sweet versus McMahon.
If your school appears on any misconduct list, your evidence burden becomes lighter. You're not proving the school lied. You're showing you were one of the people they lied to.
And then the last type of evidence is harm evidence, the emotional core. This is where the harm explainer comes in. Harm evidence is financial harm, emotional harm, career harm, life disruption, lost opportunities, worsened mental health, delayed milestones.
Borrowers often think harm doesn't count unless it's financial, but emotional harm is real. Life disruption is real. Being pressured, manipulated, or misled is totally real.
Okay, now we're going to walk through the actual blueprint. This is the structure that turns your experience into a clear, compelling borrower defense narrative. There are 5 steps. The first step is the before shot. Start with who you were before the school, what you were looking for, what did you believe, what were you promised.
This matters because predatory schools target people at vulnerable moments. Your before shows why their promises worked on you.
Step 2 is the misconduct moment. This is the moment the school misled you. It might be a recruiter's promise, a financial aid lie, a job placement guarantee, a rushed enrollment meeting, or a false accreditation claim.
Borrowers often have multiple misconduct moments. Pick the clearest one, the one that changed your decision.
The next step is the timeline of realization. This is the most powerful part of your evidence. When did you realize something was wrong? What happened that made that truth undeniable?
Borrowers often say, I didn't know until years later. That's normal. Predatory schools schools design their systems to hide the truth.
The next step is the harm breakdown. This is where you use the harm explainer. Break harm into categories: financial, emotional, career, life disruption.
And be specific, not dramatic, specific. Specificity is what makes harm real to reviewers.
Step 5 is the aftermath. What changed because of the school's misconduct? What did you lose? What did you delay? What did you struggle with?
This is where borrowers often cry because this is the part that they've never said out loud, and it's the part that matters the absolute most.
Let's walk through a fictional borrower example using the blueprint. We'll call her A.
A was a single mom working retail. She wanted a stable career. A recruiter told her the school had a 90% job placement rate and partnerships with local hospitals.
That was the misconduct moment. None of that was true.
A didn't realize the truth until she graduated and couldn't get a single interview. Hospitals told her the program wasn't respected. Some didn't recognize it at all.
Her harm included $38,000 in student loans, no job in her field, depression, delayed housing plans, strained family relationships.
And her evidence wasn't documents. It was her timeline, her consistency, and her lived experience. And the fact that dozens of other borrowers from her school reported the same lies.
So if you take one thing from today's episode, let it be this. You don't need a perfect file. You need a clear story.
Your story is evidence. Your timeline is evidence. And your harm is evidence.
There is a PDF worksheet that goes along with tonight's episode. If you were interested in receiving that PDF, please head over to our website, to the tools page, scroll to the bottom, and there is a request for downloads. Just let us know you're looking for the Borrower Evidence Blueprint Worksheet, and we will get that emailed out to you. And next week, we'll be back with another episode covering another borrower defense related topic.
And until then, take care of yourselves. You're not alone in this. If you aren't part of the Discord yet, just head over to our website, enrollmenttrap.net, and find the invite on the helpful links page. See you next time.
Thank you so much for joining.
It's the enrollment trap, but we're fighting back. The enrollment trap.